coming at you from the privacy of my beloved benefactor's safety and sanctuary estate. At the time of this recording, it is January 8th, 2024. So, all right. Just a quick recap if you're new to my videos. Thank you very much for stopping by. I have been a heavily targeted individual for the past 4 solid years. 4 solid years. Ever since the pandemic. As a heavily targeted individual of a perceived victim of this criminal crime ring that initiates and proliferates harassment, terrorism, citizen against citizen, everything the Berlin Wall symbolizes is what is going on in our country at this very moment. It's not a question of whether or not it exists. It is a question of how come it continues to exist. I'm looking at you, Judicial Department of Justice. I am completely astounded. How can a Department of Justice escape the significance of the horrible actions FEMA has been initiating through the private surveillance companies, InfraGard and Citizen Corps? There is a list in terms of, the non-investigative watch list, which has now become the mass shooter list. Everybody on those lists are being hunted down like animals, are being experimented on, are being roasted alive. Look up Zetsersung. Zetsersung. It is a no-touch, whatever you can do to think of, to annihilate a person. So how can any judicial consider itself competent to have all of this going on right underneath their nose? Or, God forbid, you're endorsing it. 3D Hierophants, you have let down the populace at large. But why? Because this continues to run amok. There are multiple stories about how individuals have been targeted, been stalked. I mean, because the social engineering states stalking happens in singles, and that's socially acceptable to admit. But group stalking, oh my God! Now we're talking conspiracy theory when it's not even a theory, it is a fact. So, everybody who has sat idly by and allowed all of these targets, there's targets, do the math, people. Cross-check your non-investigative watch list with people on that watch list ever since day one and see how many are dead. And then see how many people had proliferated sudden wealth through payouts of life insurance policies. And then see how many people are alive right now, having their worlds crumble around them because of all of the criminal crime ring you all have going on there. Let's put it this way. You all have a slandering circuit going on over there. And all of these people having their lives blown up through Uncle Sam and Willy Wonka, that you all are, have never given any of the targets a fair trial. You all have decided to play God in everybody's lives and then teach and pander to society to become sniveling and groveling, government grubbing handout recipients. And instead of helping people through their drug addictions to kick the bucket on that, I have seen many a drug addict having their drug addictions tooled against them by feeding into it to be the sniveling and groveling, money, 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 government handout recipient. It is atrocious. I have stood in homeless shelters that have pandered to those who come sideways against the targets. You all should be very ashamed. George Washington is like completely rolling over in his grave. David Crockett is like, what the fuck? Did I give up my life and sacrifice my family openly? Not, underground and everything like you all are doing. Your endorsement through the fundage, that needs to cease and desist. Your endorsement of continuing this militia to stay in effect, that needs to cease and desist. The FEMA prison camps need to be dismantled and open to media to cover what's in there. All of them. And this is just the base work and foundation that needs to be erected. And if it doesn't, I don't care what y'all do. Y'all never really cared about me getting my slow-baked ass out in the fucking trenches. Meanwhile, your law enforcement have been trained by the FBI to gaslight the public and say, gang stalking, explain that to me. You all should be very ashamed of yourselves. Mr. President, I'd imagine you endorse the gang stalking first and foremost, don't you? Do you get your dick sucked by one of the children's molested and all of that? Because if you don't, now is a good time to endorse dismantling FEMA, dismantling Citizen Corps, and dismantling InfraGard, and rewrite what the hell happens whenever and if our country goes into martial law. Because that needs to go away. And if it doesn't, Mr. President, your head is first on the chopping block of the Most High. I'm just a messenger who got their ass reamed by your Zetzer Sung, your Neo-American Stasi, your Nazi presence. You guys ended up making honorary Nazis just through betrayal by giving livelihoods to your handlers, to teach your little fucking flying monkeys how to snivel and grovel to come sideways at their goddamn targets. Why are they getting livelihoods doing that? That needs to cease and desist. Like 5 innings ago. And then if it doesn't, well, all of the targeted individuals that died and all of the families that were destroyed and their children destroyed because of that. And all these covens that groomed the children to become prostitutes. Well, that is your karma. Your immediate karma. I mean, you guys didn't care about my children. I mean, how many feds out there were in full cognizance of the demonic ways of Barbara Regali? I, being a targeted individual, you all allowed my children to be exposed to that beast. When all throughout this past year, I have been asking to take me and my children into the safety and sanctuary that is offered to international refugees brought into the United States. Furthermore, I am a descendant of 25% quantum blood of Native American Indian. Why can't a Native American Indian procure said request when international refugees brought into the United States are offered education, safety, sanctuary, where I'm a refugee in my own country. I have been sleeping in the frozen ground over back in Washington until a very kind benefactor took compassion upon me and brought me into their safety and sanctuary. I still don't have a complete public apology, and I still am at risk for being your goddamn for being your worm on a rusted fish hook in the event I go out and get a job beyond these walls, because I'm being hounded like an animal and hunted in your group stalking, in your national criminal ring, in your experimentation as endorsed by this so-called government that we have. All of that funding needs to cease and desist. All of that funding needs to be tunneled to the targeted individuals like yesterday and their families. How many family survivors do we have that have had targeted individuals already dead? How many of you are still running targeted individuals right now into the ground? If that gravy train continues, you'll know exactly where your bad karma came from, because I'm calling judgment on all you guys. I have been a filthy rich woman the entire time. I have been unmercifully railroaded with bullying. All these people have been bullying me to death. Where is your hand in serving and protecting the populace? Judicial? I don't care if you don't have, a check right now, a little, dude, I wouldn't delay all of that, because your quality life and your children and your grandchildren are all interdependent on your decision making right now. If you don't believe it, take it up with the Most High and try Him. I'm just a messenger here that has been taken for sport. How dare all of you look down on somebody based on finances, and how dare all of you wealthy people take anybody for human sport? And then you law enforcement, how dare any of you continue in the career knowing there is no subjective objective protocol to rescue and aid a targeted individual? You probably have targeting of the individual in your subjective objective protocol. That is an abomination. And if any of that continues, judicial, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, etc., cabinet, you all are personally accountable for that in the 5D. Mark my words. And the military, who is supposed to be upholding the patriotism of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, etc. You're not running spell work in there, are you? That would be very bad omen, because you guys will so get all of that rebounded right to you, all of your intentions for coming at the sideways at the populace like that. You all are put on notice, as per the Most High. Otherwise, unless all of this stuff is righted and all these wrongs are made towards amends of reparation, peace will be an illusion to you. This is Patricia Ann Landon Regali, Chief Little Flower, coming at you from the safety and sanctuary of my benefactor's estate. And if any of you dare come sideways at them, to say that being homeless, that will be a luxury for you all. And everything that I have endured for the past 28 years, on and off, That is exactly how long you can expect to have hand over fist experience in the trenches of the 5D of being targeted by my ancestors with endorsement of the Most High. Leveraging your karma against you for everything you decided to do and not do. So it's time to pull the plug. It is time to have the finality of creating living livelihoods for the handlers. These are criminals. You all are endorsing the training of criminals. You all are endorsing the training of criminal activity. This is treason. I mean, judicial. You do know what treason is, don't you? Don't tell me you are as incompetent little fucks as these past private investigators have been, that endorse slander, that have completely overlooked innocent until proven guilty. I mean, because, you know, the government that did pass out the smallpox blankets during the Oregon Trail of Tears, you guys have stepped into those shoes and been promiscuous in the deliverance of all of those smallpox blankets and metaphor. And for all of you Native American Indians that rolled over your casinos to the establishment and endorsed the targeting on the holy ground of natives, you guys are at the top of the list for getting railed by your ancestors and mine. So we're going to start there. Let's see how you handle that, because really I don't care. I don't have a way of knowing. I'm just like Kellen Keller over here in the blind. But I do follow direction and orders from the Most High. So I don't care what you think I look like or what I should look like. I'm not a fake ass bastard. And my ethics are intact. Let me ask you, what is the worst offense here? Illegally surveilling me and then calling me out on my atrocities behind the scenes? Or are my atrocities behind the scenes worse than the illegal surveilling? Because if you guys have any issues with me, come talk to my face and let's admit this illegal surveilling to my fucking face. And then we can start from there. Otherwise, everything I do is going to be considered ethical until you own up to your unethical practices of illegally surveilling and spying in on somebody just so you can get your little grub on for your goddamn Harriet Truman show. Playing now in every theater throughout the country on the dark web. Because let me tell you something, families, that for those of you that endorse that, especially at the homeless shelters, especially families with teenagers, children, and you have a targeted individual in your home that you have allowed to be illegally surveyed, let me ask you this. You didn't think that the illegal surveillance would omit your child, did you? You had actually endorsed your child to be human trafficked in that goddamn fucking Harriet Truman show. Because if you thought that Gestapo was going to give you an ethical shakedown, you're dumber than a box of rocks. You are the Milgram in the Milgram experiment. And if you don't know what that is, it's time that you go educate yourself. I mean, you do like being in the streets, don't you? So, hello, America. Coming at you live from the Harriet Truman Show in every theater throughout the country. It's time you all woke up.